Welcome back to Your 1230, the only podcast where our guests tell their story with the help of 12 questions and ideally under 30 minutes. This week, we are very excited to be joined by Richard Blank. Richard's journey in the call center space is filled with twists and turns. When he was 27 years old, he relocated to Costa Rica to train employees for one of the larger call centers in San Jose. With a mix of motivational public speaking style backed by tactful and appropriate rhetoric, Richard shared his knowledge and trained over 10,000 bilingual telemarketers. Richard Blank has the largest collection of restored American pinball machines and antique Rockola jukeboxes in Central America, making gamification a strong part of CCC culture. Richard Blank is the Chief Executive Officer for Costa Rica's call center since 2008. Richard, welcome. We are very excited to have you here this week.
Mike, thank you so much. It's great to be here to share ideas with you and your audience. We're going to have a great time today.
I believe that. And I'm going to start off with, I'm sure a lot of times you are asked, why Costa Rica?
Oh, I kind of fell into it. When I was 27 years old, I was given a 1 in a million opportunity to come down and work at my friend's center for just a couple months. And when that barn door was open, I was gone. Also, Mike, if you can get past your parents' guilt, you can live anywhere in the world as well. So I decided to take the chance and stay. And while I was there, I worked at my friend's center for 4 years, and not at sea level, but I got to see the inside and out of a call center industry. And then in my mid-30s, I threw my hat in the ring, and next thing you know, started my own center.
Nice. I like how you mentioned the parents' guilt as being what holds a lot of us back. And I do think a lot of people currently are exploring the idea of living where they want as opposed to where they work, because those things have less meaning now. But what did that phone call look like? What was the offer, and what did you pack? How did you prepare? What did that first begin with?
It was almost like a Gilligan's Island feel. It was supposed to be like a 3 hour tour. A couple of months is just a couple of months, a pair of flip-flops, some shorts and t-shirts. But I didn't realize that I shed some skin that day. When I walked off the plane at 27, I didn't have a mortgage in the States. I wasn't married, didn't have kids. I was really at the perfect time to do this. But mind you, I was a Spanish communication major in college. When I graduated in high school, I realized that Spanish was something that I wanted to master. So instead of doing finance or economics, I wanted to focus on languages, and worked for Telemundo during college as an intern, and post-grad, the importers of Corona. So think about it like this. There was a build-up to this opportunity. So I was preparing for the big journey, my spiritual journey. And the phone call was quite easy. A good friend of mine from college had this opportunity for me to go down there, and he knew I was prepared and that I loved Latin America, the culture. I was very open-minded. And once again, as you say, I wasn't living somebody else's life. There are opinions that are provided for you. And a lot of the times families or friends will try to give you a career that's predestined, what you have to choose, what you're pressured into going into. So for me, Mike, I was one of the only ones out of my friends that was going to study languages as a major. So they said, all right, Richie, that sounds good. Go, go, go. But we really couldn't swap notes. I was kind of walking alone on that one. And I decided to double and triple down. And to answer your question, no, the invitation was gracefully accepted, knowing that I would be extremely successful at it. And obviously, as you see, the sun was shining very bright for me.
Very nice. And as you mentioned the reference to Gilligan's Island, did you pack thinking that it was going to be only a few months, or did you know that when you got on that plane that it was going to be more of the long term? Did it take some convincing? How did that kind of turn it into a life journey from age 27?
It's one of the best questions someone has ever asked me. That's why, Mike, you got the most amazing podcast.
Well, thank you.
You and I both know when the time is right. And there's your intuition, your sixth sense, your past life, your future life, all combining to tell you in your present life what you need to do. You read about it, you've seen the movies. Come on, Mike, I was leaving a castle. I was going to go slay a dragon and save a princess and become a prince. There was no way I was going home. This opportunity at my friend's center really just wasn't an internship or for a favor. It really was a chance for me to go to graduate school and learn this business. And the greatest way to do it is as a proletariat with the people, the good and the bad. And I earned my stripes there. Yes, I came in very good friends with somebody and had the nice desk, the chair, and the window seat. But I also paid it forward in regards to training and getting their teams up to speed. So he definitely got an ROI on my investment. But there was a beautiful relationship there. It was 4 years of no stress. It was the last boss I ever had and was the best boss I ever had. In addition to that, I was given the opportunity to learn retention, customer support, human resources, accounting, onboarding, training, SEO. Think of that sort of experience that I had. So it wasn't how much I was being paid because for Costa Rica standards, I was doing well, but it was the experience that I was learning. And then I realized that it was the most educated decision for me to move ahead and try it on my own. So it was really momentum, Mike. It was my destiny. It was something that, as I mentioned before, once that barn door was open, I was going straight. There was no U-turn. There was enough gas to go one way. And I decided to be bold and to die with my boots on and to take that chance. And that's why we're sitting here discussing this twist and turn journey today.
No, I like the way that you describe it as bold and courageous, because I think that it would have had to have been, given the set of facts you've laid out. And I especially like the way that you refer to it as a kind of graduate or master's education on all things business, especially internationally, given the background up until that point. So I guess I'll let you decide kind of where to take it next. But based on what those 4 years look like, how did you decide that you want to do this on your own? Was there an experience? Did something happen? Or was this just a natural progression for you?
Of course, when you're looking at a business, it seems complicated. And sure, I'm not an IT expert. You hire specialists for that. I'm not an accountant or an attorney. You hire specialists for that. But where could I be most useful? That was on the telemarketing floor. English is my first language, their second language. Anyone that comes to the table speaking a second language obviously bears the mark of higher education and they're coachable. So it was a give and a take. I would listen to their calls, make suggestions in regards to vocabulary, grammar, expanding their vocabulary. They in turn would teach me my Spanish. But there's an art to speak. Today, most people are chatting or sending emails. There could be miscommunication there, or it could be latent. You just don't get things resolved in a timely fashion. When people are on the phone, they can upsell, they can retain a client, they can get a referral. They might even be able to get an exit interview. Certain times in which areas we can improve or what the competition is doing to possibly earn their business. So it is a skill that you need to work up to, but if you do, your potential is limitless, and especially in a second language. And so I gravitated towards that. I thought it was interesting, and I knew that my dojo, through empathy, through compassion, giving these individuals dignity and job stability so they don't resign and create attrition, I could compete with the big boys. I can get the same equipment, but I believe a certain coach can produce winning teams. And combining Philly style in Arizona and the other things that I grew up with, I easily knew that I could build a team and a foundation.
I can tell that the empathetic approach and the coachability both on your end to have both languages be heart and center in what was being trained and kind of sold to clients was important. I was just wondering, people hear the term telemarketer and sometimes it has a negative connotation, or it's like, please don't bother me type approach. How were you able to kind of navigate that over the last 20 years, based on the way that communication styles have changed, the way people take phone calls, and the messaging that you reference? How has that journey looked?
Oh, it looks great per Hollywood standards, from The Wolf of Wall Street, Glengarry Glen Ross, and Boiler Room. I mean, they're so glib, clever with their nice suits, standing and pitching in front of 50 people, closing deals, mastering scripts. Actually, what they're doing are certain sort of protocols that need to be done to understand the call. It just depends on the person making the call ethically. There are many different types of verticals. Since I'm in a very strict Catholic country, we're very selective of the campaigns that come in. It's not like I don't want to earn the business, but will the agent accept it and go home and tell their mother what they do? And so for me, I like to choose certain campaigns where I'm on a level playing field. there's no surprises, and we're properly prepared. We do everything from appointment setting, lead generation, inbound support, and non-voice support. But if you're making outbound calls, my only suggestion would be just quickly is to look at a LinkedIn profile or a website. You might be able to capture something to make it unique and custom made when you're touching base with them, instead of just calling them sir. It's Mike, and you know a little bit about them. And also, if you're leaving a voicemail or an email template, if you happen to call into the company and you speak to the gatekeeper that you're supposed to be so afraid of, well, if you get to pass the pitch, if you can show good faith and understand their system, this individual can be the most useful for you. So I like to use positive escalations, to where if I'm speaking with the owner of the company, I will mention how helpful Catherine was. I'll do it verbally, and when I do an email, to do it in writing, because when I call back, obviously someone said something to her that would then assist me, either they're getting transferred or giving me more about your company culture. So when I speak to the owner again, I can congratulate them on a certain promotion or anniversary. These are the sort of soft skills and attentive listening skills that may just reduce things from a 10 to a 4 in at least defense, and go you from a 2 to maybe an 8 in offense, and just move the mass a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with just having common sense and doing your due diligence, but we won't call you at dinner. I'm not looking for a cold call close. I may need to sell for information or time to set up an appointment or to send you some information for your review. But we don't have campaigns that force a hand with credit card numbers. There is no sense of urgency on the majority of my projects. But as you say, a lot of people can earn a living doing this, either at a call center with the infrastructure or just at smaller companies for inbound and outbound calls. And they can do it well. If somebody can resolve an issue for you, wouldn't that reduce your stress level? If somebody knew your name, looked up your accounts, you didn't have to repeat it, got quick, got the approval, you might stay with that company. That's the retention. And then you might even say, when you call back the next time, may I speak to Richard, please? He was the gentleman that assisted me last time. And the next thing you know, I have a pipeline of loyal clients that I could show my boss that I've kept for them, and they've recommended people. And it's just, my man, it's just old school. This is nothing new for people. This is the stuff we used to do before, before the internet and phone. I used to have to call my friends' houses and ask permission to speak to somebody. So you learn how to be polite and professional and remember names. And Mike, that's really the only suggestion I make for the agents here. I just don't compromise their ethics. That's why they come back every day and work so hard on the project.
This episode of Your 1230 is brought to you by Accomplished RE, helping real estate agents achieve time, location, and financial freedom. No, I like the way that you tie in the diligence to the retention, both for your employees and then for the client that has hired you for that service, because it is all tied together, and it is simple things, understanding who you're speaking with, what's important to them, and how you can kind of move that ball forward.
Of course.
I wanted to ask, kind of off of that, you do a great job painting that picture. Is there any specific story over the last 20 or 30 years that really sticks to a point, or really emphasizes, we did it this way and this was a great result that we had, or anything that kind of sticks out when you think about all the good things that's happened?
Of course, the bark is worse than the bite. Here's my skinny for somebody. If they hang up on you, it's over. It really is over. How about if they're on the phone screaming at you? That's a different side of the spectrum. But if someone is just testing the waters because they're C-level, or they get so many calls, or you happen to make a good first impression, I think you may be able to readjust the tone. And so in my years, just from my own personal experience, I've been able to ride that wave and ride that bull until the end. And I've converted people, and they've become some of my best clients. You know that the best relationships are made is when you go through tough times together, or you pass the obstacle course for somebody because they're so black and blue from these phone calls. And so I'm able, in the beginning, is to find a lot of areas in common, a Me Too technique. As people are working from home, you hear dogs in the background, or there might be something in their company that you really relate to, that you take the chance. You do some sort of mentalism technique where you roll the dice on something in common. And if you can land it, you can anchor an idea, reduce any sort of anything, and be able to pull yourself up to more conversation. And so I've seen my agents keep using name drops appropriately, maybe repeating someone's information, excuse me, letting them know it was an excellent question, Mike, repeating the question and then sending it back in a very nice way. We call that the buffer boomerang technique. We love to rake, because if I give you a lot of suggestions at one time, maybe you're listening to each one, I'll let you know, hey, Mike, I'm sure you like at least one. You let me know. When we take from horizontal to vertical and stack open-ended questions, it's really about you leading, me guiding. And it's very easy that way. And people have taken a 30-second brick wall hang-up call for the novice into a 10-minute converted call where even the tone in the beginning was barking, and at the end, it was almost violin-like. And so I can't really show these people the last round of the fight because you haven't earned it yet. You need to nail the intro to be able to get the body in the conclusion of the call. And even while you're in the body and concluding the call, you're still in the now, like a boxer. You drop your chin for 1 second, you're out. You really need to be pacing this thing and being in the now. I know you got your questions prepared, but it doesn't matter. There's always zig and zag. Someone could make an expression over the phone that you could hear, that could give you a positive reinforcement to let you know you're on the right track, or you might have left a door open. And I always believe when the conclusion is to repeat things in military alphabet, because why am I assuming your email address? Imagine the bounce back, embarrassing phone call when you have to call back and no, people like military alphabet. It sounds kind of cool. And it's a great way to spark up other conversations. So I've also seen phone calls that were supposed to be ending and tying in the bow and going goodbye that lasted another 5 minutes because of Memorial Day weekend and you're throwing out military alphabet. And so there's 1,000 examples I can show you to prolong conversations. But I believe that if somebody sways with the wind on these, allows you to contribute, me to 2 listen, 1 speak, there's an excellent chance to manipulate the time to last 10 to 15 minutes with all of your confirmation and positive escalations. And then it's nothing personal, Mike, but maybe in the middle of the phone call, you refer to yourself in third person by saying, hey, Mike, at the end of this call, you're going to say, Richard, you answered all of my questions. I politely reminded you with, hello, my name is Richard. So now you would be name dropping me immediately after that, which is kind of suspicious because you forgot my name. And now we know we really connected. And so these are some of the things that people in the moment can find their balance, know when to take and to put in, and create excellent communication strategies. And that's what we try to do here, my friend, is to get people just a little more self-confident and self-reliant.
Well, I love how you kind of pull the curtain back on that and walk us through, especially the point of it's very important to have the preparation piece be ready to go, prepared, but to listen and to change tone, change lines of question, to go someplace completely different based on what that actual conversation looks like. I think that's good advice for almost any field, that you can't just show up and hope to shoot from the hip, because you're not going to have the requisite information, and you can't just have a script and stick to it all the time. Sometimes the situation is going to dictate that you have to deviate. So I can tell that balance is really important for you and for your folks there. I wanted to ask, having the ability to work in the U.S. here and then having to work abroad, it sounds like your culture is really important for your organization. How has the culture, I don't want to say shock, but how is the change or similarities? What is the overlap, and how do you describe working in Costa Rica to others outside of your office and out of the country?
Well, since I'm a guest in this country, I have to understand that a lot of things that I held dear and to high esteem in Philadelphia and Arizona really don't mean much here. So, you're playing in someone else's stadium. So I came to the plate with Spanish, open mind to learn the tradition and culture, hired the specialist to assist me with the labor laws, which is a completely different podcast altogether. But I just, once again, make sure that I'm following all the rules here. And that sort of acclimation where I was able to integrate my skills into the Costa Rican skills, it meshed very well. And I guess the greatest thing that I've done is a gamification culture. Since I grew up in the 70s and 80s, I'm an avid collector of pinball machines, retro arcade machines, and jukeboxes. And so I've created a safe environment where people can let off steam, recharge batteries, meet people from other departments, and hang out with me. And it really is an indication of the sort of work-life balance that I'm trying to promote here in this environment. And I'm very proud of things like that. Recess was the best class in school. That's where you made all your friends, and the best relationships are built through play. And why do we take that away because we are adults? Just because I'm bald and have a white beard doesn't mean I can't enjoy my half an hour with my friends at lunchtime. Let's have a good time. And I've seen people put their phone down and join groups, not go outside for a cigarette, but stay inside to participate. And I think those are the little wins that I can see: one less cigarette and one less screen time, and more interpersonal interaction to build on those skills. I can only do so much, Mike. I can't hit the ball and drag Johnny everywhere. But what I can do is to get them to stand tall and to be accountable, and to do some dedicated practice outside of the office. So maybe they study words in the thesaurus, or watch another movie in English and pull a phrase out of it, or ask me a vocabulary word because they found it interesting. I respect that. That's what leaders are made of, the ones that are inquisitive and just try to grow their skills.
I like, and I wasn't expecting it to, but you still describe yourself as a visitor, that even after multiple decades, that you kind of take that respectful approach, that you are there, but you are very cognizant of your background and how it's different, and that you're respectful of all that's around you. Just wondering, for anybody who is, you mentioned bold, you mentioned courage. What would be important for someone who's ready to pick up and move, whether it's across, state borders, international? What would they need to know? What should they know? And what would you do differently, if anything, looking back at jumping on that plane?
So many questions. I'll slice it for you. The best bit of advice for your friends: it's free, and they got as much as they want. Learn to smile. That's it. If you smile, people will smile back at you and be really, really nice. And don't be afraid to make a mistake in regards to speaking a second language or asking a question. Not why, but more of a how or a what. When you want to learn about the local customs, because you won't offend anybody. And people are more than happy to share what they have with you. But it is something where it does take preparation. You're talking about seriously picking up your spikes and moving to somewhere else, another state or another country. At least do some sort of due diligence. Costa Rica was lucky for me. My friend was here. If it were somewhere else in the world where it was cold or potentially dangerous, maybe I might have not taken that. Or possibly, since I studied Spanish in college and the country did not have Spanish, how much time would it take me to learn that language? I would be starting at scratch. So the stars were aligned. It made it easier for me. My suggestion is to take it in first down to touchdown steps. Maybe just take things of interest first to see if you can keep moving forward. And then when you have everything together, you have your impulse control, maturity, and some cash. Then you take that final step, then go for it. But, those are the sort of things where you only get 100 years, and you shouldn't be living someone else's life. You should really be writing your own story. It doesn't need to be so eccentric just to gain attention. You should always have good intentions and good faith. And if you have that sort of stuff, you can make your case to people. Mike, I got a good story. So when I'm 18 and I'm choosing my career in college, which was Spanish, my parents were like, why? Why aren't you studying in grandpa in our footsteps, law and finance and economics? I go, well, great grandpa came from Europe at the turn of the century. He didn't speak English, and he was a tailor in New York, and he started his business. So we're nomads. It's in our blood. Just because the turn of the century, big deal. I'm doing it the turn of the other century. In 2000 is when I left. So I guess we're the same, just 100 years later. But it's the kind of thing, if it's in your blood, and your past ancestors took those chances to go to a different country or to build a business or build a family or pass family traditions, then why not? That's your flag to hold high. That's your candle that should never go out and should be spread amongst others. And for me, I'm not starting a tradition. This is my family tradition. It just skipped a generation or two. But oh no, I can feel it in my blood that this thing was meant to be, and that's why it's been so good for the past 22 years.
That's wonderful advice. Thank you, Richard, for kind of just showing how it's worked for you, how it can work for others. Especially, again, I would expect nothing less but that diligent approach, being respectful of what and who's around you, and then making things better for everybody that you work with. I have to ask because you brought it up, and I see it over your shoulder. You've got it looks like a pristine jukebox. How did you get into you mentioned gamification culture. How did you get into collecting jukebox pinball machines? There's a candy machine also over your left shoulder. So I'll let you pick which one you want to tell me how you got into and what that collection looks like now.
Well, my man, that's the private stash. I got more candy on the floor, but that's the VIP candy.
Okay.
I just am fascinated with antique machines. And since I love the movies from the 60s and 70s and 80s, in all the bars and restaurants, you'd always see a jukebox or a pinball machine or a classic machine. That was my generation. I'm an MTV Generation X guy. And the fact that I have the space, I have the resources, and one man's trash is another man's treasure. This thing was just a couple $100. A 1961 Ricola Regis. Obviously, it needed a little TLC, but not that much. But everything was perfect because you're thinking you're getting a cachet of 100 records of Led Zeppelin and CSN, In Excess, you name it. I pulled out every record. I had no idea who any of these people were. They were all Central American artists from the 60s and 70s. I mean, everyone else was excited. I felt like it was the bad candy on Halloween. I just didn't want to eat it. So I was giving them away to people. But no, the beauty of it is the restoration. And it's very easy today online to find certain parts to make it work. And with professional electricians, because this is 1960s technology, it's just a couple of wires, they're back to working again. And they've been preserved. And our parents and grandparents fell in love dancing in front of them. And they were taken care of, and the energy was passed in it through these generations. And so when I get these machines, once again, it's going to be a family heirloom. They'll be around when I'm not here. So I'm a guest of their company, and they're very happy being with me. And I take very good care of them. And let me put it this way. If you have a jukebox in your house, all your friends are going to want to come by and hang out with it. And even if you can't fix the motor, just put an MP3 in it. Just keep the outside beautiful and put the lights in. And you can find so many for very comfortable prices. So my suggestion is to save them and bring them to your home and really start enjoying them like I do.
Very nice. And I have to ask, if you took the records out, what did you replace them with?
Oh, all my old 45s. I went back to Arizona and brought them all back with me. I had my brothers and then my own, and even some from my mom from the old Motown days, like the Shirelles and things like that, and Chuck Berry. So it's a mixture of our family's 45s through the years. It may not be their taste, but it's my taste. It's just the way it goes. But it's fun. I mean, the sound of the old needle, the crackling, the fact that you get to see it placed into and the motor and start playing. So it's a first for a lot of these agents. They've never seen it before. So it just gives them something cool to talk about with their friends.
So what song gets the most popular, is the most popular played then right now?
Oh, down here?
On that machine specifically.
Unfortunately, what they try to do is, and it's sad because I do turn it over to a Bluetooth as well.
Oh boy.
My records get played when I want to play them. They're totally flipping it over and playing some artist from last week that's got 90,000 things on TikTok that I've never heard of before. And so, as much as I try to push my classic rock and Jimmy and all that stuff, they prefer their other tastes. So unfortunately, I'm not prepared for that question today of current pop music.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, Richard, I appreciate you walking us through kind of your journey, what it looks like being a success abroad, being able to uplift an office and basically create it out of one that did not exist before. My last couple questions here. What types of clients are you working with? Who is kind of a good fit for you, both in Costa Rica and any of your clients that are international looking to collaborate with you?
It's a great question. The first is they have to respect the labor laws. There's a lot of things that happen in their home country or their hometown that they may expect here that which may or may not fit our business model. But secondly, I'm looking with companies that are looking to scale and to maybe compare apples or have some sort of overflow where they could send to us. Clients that may need bilingual agents or somebody, and these are some of my favorites, that start small and then grow because we can write scripts together. We can use our resources. And it's almost as much fun as when a client has a plug and play where they have the metrics, the scripts, the lists, and the QC, the quality assurance department ready to go. And so each one's eclectic. They're unique in their own way, kind of like a pinball machine. And what I like to do is a couple of things. Since it is virtual and the agents are with me, I do create my company culture and let them know that I am accountable and will motivate them, but also no surprises. Good, bad, or ugly, I have to let them know what's happening in case there's an attrition or something's happening with a list or the script is not working, and would make suggestions and find a way where everyone is comfortable to move forward with certain ideas, because I don't always need to win every battle. And Mike, I can fall on many swords. It's not that big of a deal. But ethically, or maybe just from my own experience, I can make an educated decision and share my thoughts with you on why it may be appropriate to change certain words or to approach a client differently. And most of it is just enhancements. Maybe they don't want to leave voicemails or they don't have an email template written. Or if there's a callback number, someone on their end is not there to answer the call. So that might cause a disruption. And not looking to rock the boat, but my man, there is some sort of system that we're working here. We got to make sure that no one's dropping the football. Because it's not your end, it's our end. If we get a phone call back and the hard work that we did was not followed through, imagine the morale of my agent. They'd say, Rich, what are we doing this for? What sort of argument could I have for that? So the greatest thing I can do is to be very forthright with my staff in regards to the good and the bad of the account. And by doing so, I get the best from them. And so I would expect my client to respect that and also offer us the same.
Very nice, Rich. Again, thank you for sharing your story with us today. Last question for me, where can our listeners find you if they want to connect with you directly or find out more?
Mike, the first thing they got to do is buy a plane ticket and fly to Costa Rica. Come visit me. You know that. I got 1,000 suggestions for a good time. But they can also give me a call, 888-271-6750. Send me an email. CEO at Costa Rica's callcenter.com. And here's the best part. I have a Facebook fan page with about 98,000 local Costa Rican ticos. You're going to, once this goes live, you're going to get tens of thousands of new fans. But for your audience, it will give you a real pulse of the business process outsourcing industry in Central America, especially Costa Rica. Just real quick, we are north of Panama, south of Nicaragua, the only democratic society in Central America. We have no standing army. That money got put back into education, so there's a 95% literacy rate. Companies such as Amazon, HP, Intel, Oracle are here, such as the other large centers, Sykes, Convergys, Concentrix, Teleperformance. And also we're known for ecotourism. Imagine the waterfalls and the beaches and the zip lining, the butterflies and the hot springs and the monkeys and iguanas, the tropical fruit. So people come here for the pura vida, the pure life experience. And really, to answer your question, when I walked off this plane, this is the best place I've ever been in my whole life. Why would I want to go home? So I was going to do everything I had to do to stay on this adventure. And so, Mike, thank you so much for this today. This was amazing. I think we got a lot of stuff out, and you do an excellent interview. That's what made me want to contact you in the first place, that you're the man.
Well, I appreciate that very much, Rich. And from our talk today, I have no doubt that you'll have another 22 years plus of continued success and excellence in Costa Rica. And it sounds like both a wonderful place to visit and work. So thank you for joining us, and I do look forward to next time.
Thanks, Bob.
You got it.